Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. In this video, we will have our discussion on the concept of seeing the signs of compatibility or while doing the matchmaking through astrology. So what could be the signs which you have to see in the charts of two people? Because friends, if you will go by the language of the classical text, they were written at those times when there was no provision of even getting separated or getting divorced. Like you get married just to be with your person, be with your partner till your last breath. But as you can see, during these days when divorce rates are all time high, people are so ambitious, people have their own personal space. So because of which it becomes very important that even you have to evolve your classical principles while doing the compatibility between two people. Because friends, just because thanks to Jupiter, which is in its best dignity right now in transit, even from the past couple of weeks when Venus was also exalted, so I have been receiving many matchmaking consultations and all of that, and the signs which I keep on seeing on daily basis. So my findings and the kind of synchronicities I saw on those charts, that is something which I will try to present over here in this video. So I do not know whether you're going to find something entirely new in this video, but definitely after watching this video, it is going to give you an edge while working on the compatibility between two people. And I still remember friends, like a couple of days back, I had a telephonic consultation with one girl who actually wanted to know about her relationship aspect. And when I started telling her, so she just she was very frank, and she just said this thing. She was like around in late 30s from Europe, and she said that, okay, just to be honest, I'm very happy. It's not like that I'm needy or I'm sad or I'm depressed. That is the reason I want someone in my life. It's just like that I want a partner, not an obstruction. So no matter how much time is it gonna take place, but I should be with the right person, and I do not mind waiting for that person to enter in my life. So that is something, because friends, when we talk about relationship, so if 7th house is the house of marriage, so 7th house is also the house of open enemies. So you have to be very careful, specifically if you have to get into a matrimonial tie with someone where you do not know the person, or it's like a arranged marriage setup which generally still takes place in many traditional communities and all of that. So while seeking the help of astrology, predicting the future is one thing, but at least you will be able to know the true essence, the true side of the personality of the person in consideration. So okay friends, a couple of things which I want to make it very clear here right at the beginning of this video, friends, that I've been now watching and reading many good eminent astrologers who are very transparently debunking or rejecting the credibility which we used to attach to those traditional softwares where all the matchmaking were done only on the basis of the guna milan. Like you will just key in the details of two people in the software and you will try to see the scorecard out of 36. So trust me friends, that is just going to give you one-sided version of the compatibility, like where you are gonna include the moon nakshatra and from the moon, but that does not take into consideration the time period which is going to be lying ahead of you, and so many other aspect of the seeing the signs of compatibility. So one thing which I want to make it very clear over here, that just because you follow these kind of videos, so that in itself means that you have got a strong, deeper knowledge of these occult sciences and mystic sciences. So if a layman is looking at or seeking refuge in these softwares, then I could still buy that. But if you, being a person of a strong interest and deep knowledge of Vedic astrology, you should not completely rely on these kind of matchmaking on guna milan while landing into any conclusion of any matchmaking done between two people. That's one thing. Second thing is that friends, like whenever we have to do the compatibility, one thing where I want to attach many points is that what I have found is that, like, okay, because whenever we have to see the condition of the seventh house, because at the end of the day it's the seventh house only which gives the information of the marriage, of the relationship, important planets transiting from your seventh house in transit or in the Mahadasha, in the Antardasha, in the Pratyantardasha, or whichever dasha you are using. Seventh house getting activated, getting involved is something which promises marriage. But many times I've seen that many cases I have found people finding their prospective partner, prospective match from the seventh house of the moon sign. So do not only resort on the looking at the seventh house placement from the ascendant or the lagna. You should also equally include or give equal weightage to the seventh house from your moon sign. Now friends, that becomes more important for certain people. Like for example, your moon sign is Cancer, or your moon sign is Leo, or in your case from your moon sign in the seventh house Saturn is placed over there, or your moon is in the axis of Rahu and Ketu, then it becomes more important that somehow destiny or karma is going to have a strong say in the prospects of your relationship or of the marriage. So because of which, rather than relying more on the looking at the condition of your fifth house and seventh house from the Lagan chart or the ascendant, you should give more weightage to the fifth house and seventh house from your moon sign. So that is the second point which I want to make it over here. Now friends, you must be wondering why fifth house, because fifth house is the house of romance, your intellect, and when we see that, you know, in any ways trine plays very important role, and when we talk about specifically fifth house or seventh house getting activated, that actually contributes a lot towards right person entering your life, or while doing the signs of compatibility, that yes, both of these people, their mindset, their thinking process is showing some signs of compatibility. Now that was the second point. Third point is that friends, many times I've seen is that I've lately seen many matches where, because the traditional approach of doing the matchmaking is that it's like very general thumb rule that the Martian people are going to get attracted towards the Venusian people, Gemini people are going to get attracted towards the Jupiterian people. But lately I've been finding that people with the same ascendants, or the more similarity you're going to find in the chart, the better marriages are working out. Because friends, when we talk about the the more equality or similarity you're going to find in the charts of two people, so not only it tells about the uniformity of the thought process, but also it tells about that, you know, your path which has been laid ahead in front of you is somehow there is got some sort of similarity. Now let me give you a very simple example. Now if you will find someone who is going to have a Capricorn rising, Saturn is placed right over there in the first house, or in any way like ascendant lord is strong, and it is strong in the specifically the Kendra Bhava, the like houses like first house, fourth house, seventh house, 10th house. So that in itself tells about that this person A is meant for a stable life path. Now you are going to introduce this person to someone who is going to have his ascendant lord placed in the 8th house. So now this is a life, or this is a person who is going to go through many transformation. So when this person is going to come in the life of this person, he might be doing a job, but after a couple of years he might suddenly, his life will bring circumstances that he might be out of the job, he might be taking interest in business, he might become a yogi. So these are the kind of transformation which comes in your life, specifically if you are driven or being ruled by the 8th house. So what could be a normal life path or pattern for this person? This kind of situation and circumstances might completely creep out someone who is going to have his ascendant lord strengthened in the angular houses. A life dedicated, devoted towards security, stability. So that is the only reason, friends, if you are going to introduce this person with the similar stability, signs of stability, life path, so they both can understand, empathize or relate with each other. And if you're going to introduce this person, someone like me, with a very accentuated, heightened and a prominent 8th house, so other person can also relate with those kind of circumstances, with those sort of challenges and opportunities which life is going to bring in front of you. So that's what I want to make it clear over here, that the traditional thumb rule was that we used to look at that, okay, Aries and Libra compatibility, or Pisces or Virgo is a sign of compatibility. But lately what I'm finding over here is that just because we are living in such a time and era where there is a lot of independence, lot of freedom, people want to live life in their own set of rules, so the more similarity you're going to find in the charts of two people, the better it's going to be, not only their compatibility, their emotional thinking pattern, but also the life path which is going to come in front of them. Third thing is that, friends, like definitely Mangal or Mars is the chief planet of creating disharmony in the relationship. The traditional approach is that, or the attached notion is that, if you will find that Mars is present in the houses of the sensuality or passion, like Mars being placed in the 12th house can actually create some sort of agitation, either lack or intensity in the aspect of the bed pleasure. When we talk about 8th house, sudden unpredictable events. When we talk about like 4th house, then the 4th house Mars can actually create disharmony in the family life. Even the 7th house or 1st house Mars can create issue of intensity or aggression. So because of which Mars is one planet which needs to be given attention. Now friends, try to understand over here. Here I'm not talking about that this planet we need to give attention towards seeing the signs of compatibility. This is the planet which is the chief significator of disharmony. So from that aspect, you have to see individually the placement of Mars in both of the charts, the way it is communicating or relating with each other in the two charts. The only planet which is the significator of giving sustenance in the marriage is Venus. Now friends, over here as well, like many times what happens is that we only give attention to Venus in the chart of, like again, the traditional mindset is that Jupiter is the husband in a woman's chart and Venus is the wife in a man's chart. But trust me, Venus individually should be given attention in both of the charts, whether it's a man getting married to a man, a woman getting married to a woman, a man or woman, or whatsoever the sign of compatibility you have to see. You have to see the dignity of the Venus in the chart. Trust me, it's Venus only which holds the potential or capacity to give sustenance in the marriage, love, passion in the marriage, need for each other. Because unless and until you do not have that craving, that need, and you do not crave for that space of someone or the presence of someone in your life, so even irrespective of someone is there in your life or not, so it's not gonna create any difference. So because of which, so friends, individually dignity of Venus plays a very pivotal role. And over here as well, friends, Venus is a planet which you have to study both from the ascendant chart and the moon chart. Now friends, the next step is that after looking at all the signs of compatibility in the chart of two people in consideration for the matchmaking, now you have to look at their dashas. Now friends, dashas become very important because whatsoever the cosmos, nature or destiny has planned for us, it's these dashas or the planetary time periods only which become a medium to give us the results of our karma, of our destined path. So now friends, like I would recommend that you should be at least verifying or validating the signs of compatibility between these two people from at least two dashas. So like I'm very much sure that you follow Vimshotri Dasha and including even the Chara Dasha. So looking at that which sign Dasha both of these planets are currently going through, and from that Dasha where the Dara Karaka is sitting, so that can actually give you a right set of guidance. And also friends, like when we talk about, because it's not only about looking at the charts right at that moment, but because whenever you get into any sort of relationship, the initial few years tend to remain very sensitive when you're trying to establish a bond with your partner. So like I would also suggest that at least look at the immediate next 5 years, that if one person is going to or about to enter any sort of traumatic or any destructive or negative dasha, so how the dasha of other person in relationship is responding to that. So if one person is going to get into a very troubled dasha, but the dasha of other person in the relationship is going to be very strengthened, going to be very progressive. So then this is how we can see the signs of compatibility, that the hardship being endured by one person can get compensated because of the good fortune, good time which another person might be running into. But let's say, for example, if they both at the same time will get into a very troubled dasha, then the possibility of separation might go higher. Friends, I still remember there is one very good astrologer in the YouTube community, and he shares very good stories from our classical astrological text and scriptures from the shastras and all. So one of the story which he shared in one of his video was that once there was a king. He was looking for the successor of his kingdom to announce the next king. So his family astrologer, the royal astrologer of the court, pointed out at one person that he could be a strong potential or candidate. But in order to appoint him, they first wanted to make that person go through some test. So the king called him to his court and give him a goat first to take care. So this guy, he takes the goat to his home, but the goat dies in couple of days. Then he again goes back to the king. Then king gives him a bull to take care. He brings that bull to his home. In few days, bull also dies. Then he again goes to the king. Then king gives him a young couple to look after. So the young couple somehow survived. So then afterwards, when he goes to the king, then king says that our royal astrologer of the court just advised this thing, that his dashas right now are not running very good. So that was the only reason, like goat which could be attached to the Aries. So the planets, your dasha, were very much afflicted and afflicting the Aries sign. So that caused the trauma over there. Then the same affliction reached the bull, the Taurus. After that, Gemini, which is the significator of young couple. But afterwards, when we realize that your dashas are not getting that afflicted, it's coming in control. So now we are very happy to announce you the next successor or the king. Imagine had we announced you at the wrong time. So what happened to the bull, what happened to the goat might have happened to the kingdom. Because if a king is sitting on the throne, so his children and his kingdom is somewhat which is responsible along with him. So that was just a short idea, friends, which I wanted to say on the dashas and the role which dasha plays, and you have to take into consideration while doing the compatibility. Now friends, the next thing is that no discussion on any sort of compatibility can end without including the D9 chart. Now friends, like when we open the D9 chart, there is a whole lot of information which gets opened up in front of us, but you should have a one-sided, one track and clear mind that with which objective you are opening up the D9 chart. Now definitely D9 chart can give you very strong information for someone who has completely dedicated his life towards spiritual path. So if you are looking at it from the matrimonial perspective, so individually the karaka or the significator of the D9 chart is Venus. Many times people get mistaken that they start looking at individually Jupiter. Now Jupiter could be important planet to look at in the D9 chart only if your objective is to look at someone's soul journey and soul path dedicated towards spirituality. But if you are opening up the D9 chart from the perspective of looking at the matrimonial harmony or the kind of yogas this person has in his chart, does this person's life, his chart, planetary vibration indicate the promise of a happy matrimonial life or not? So you have to see the individual dignity of the Venus in the D9 chart. And the second thing is that you have to see the condition and the placement of the 7th house lord from the ascendant chart and its dignity in the D9 chart. Many times I see people getting confused that they individually look at the 7th house lord from the ascendant chart, they open the D9 chart, then they individually start looking at the 7th house lord, and everything goes jumbled up. And your main objective is that if a chart has come in front of you and you have to give this snapshot prediction, because if the person is asking this question to you that I'm now sick and tired of looking out for a prospective partner or match for me, so now somehow finally I found this person, does my chart indicate a promise of marriage or not? Does my chart indicate happiness on the account of a happy matrimonial life or not? So you have to be very clear when you are going through from one chart to another chart. All these charts are there to give you more tools for landing at a accurate prediction rather than getting confused. So you have to primarily look at the dignity of the Venus in the D9 chart, and you have to see the placement and dignity of the 7th house lord from the main ascendant chart in the D9 chart, how well it is placed. So now friends, these are the few things which you have to include while doing the assessment or analysis from the perspective of the matrimonial matchmaking. Now friends, one thing which I want to mention over here is that specifically Ketu is a planet which actually creates a lot of mystery, because when we talk about Saturn, so if in your overall alignment in your chart is indicating a marriage, happiness on the account of children, or a proper happy matrimonial life, so even if Saturn is placed in your 7th house, it is ruling your 7th house in any way, Saturn can delays but it never denies. But when we talk about Ketu, Ketu is a planet which completely hides the signification of the house where it is sitting, and no matter what all remedies you are doing, how much faith you are, with how much enthusiasm you're looking for a partner, so Ketu can completely hide the signification or deny the results of that house. And sometimes what happen is that people try to go against the energies of the planet. Wheresoever and in whichsoever house Ketu is present in your chart, Ketu just wants you to completely surrender yourself to the divine will or completely bow down to the matters of that house. So if you are going to force your wish that if your son has got this combination, or in any way you have this combination and your heart bent on getting married, so I have seen all those people who force their will on the divine will or the divine plan, then their separation or their divorce also happens in that sudden flash of light. So it becomes first of all very important that if Ketu has any say in your 7th house. So generally what I say in this thing, that because Rahu Ketu's excess in the 1st house and 7th house in a way is going to have a lifelong say in your matrimonial path, and because Ketu specifically is present in your 7th house, so then you have to take into consideration that what sort of karma life has brought for you specifically in the matters of the marriage. So the best approach for decoding this 7th house placement of Ketu is that now whether you have this placement from your moon sign or from your ascendant, then in those scenarios you have to dig deep into it. So just do one thing. If your Ketu is placed in the 7th house, so all what you have to do is that you have to make your 7th house as the 1st house. So that's one thing. Now you have to see that what Dasha you started your life first with. So whatsoever your moon nakshatra is, because definitely you started your first Vimshotri Dasha basis that in which nakshatra your moon was transiting at the time of your birth and which planet has got the rulership of your moon nakshatra. So then you have to see that from via making 7th house Ketu as your 1st house. Now you have to see where your moon nakshatra lord planet is placed. So that house is going to give you strong idea, some sort of past life connection pertaining to the matters of relationship, matter of marriage, and some karmic connection with the matters of that house. So let's say for example, if you have made like your 7th house Ketu as your 1st house. So let's take up this example that you are a Taurus rising person and Rahu is exalted right over there in your 1st house and Ketu is placed in the 7th house in the Scorpio sign. And just in order to find out the answers that why you're not able to find the right person or right prospective match, why in your matrimonial life there is so much mystery which is always surrounded in the marital life. So all what you have to do is that you have to, in your chart, you have to make Scorpio as your 1st sign. Now we have to see that in which sign or nakshatra your moon is placed in. So let's say for example, if your moon sign is Aquarius, and within Aquarius your moon is placed in the for example Purvabhadrapada nakshatra. So Purvabhadrapada is a nakshatra which is being ruled by the planet Jupiter, and if in your natal chart your Jupiter is placed like it is exalted. So that can also give us this indication that just because why I'm making Scorpio with your Ketu being placed over there as your first house, and your Jupiter is placed in the ninth house from over there, from that placement, and it is exalted. So that is going to give us this indication that in the past lifetime you might have taken some sort of spiritual vows, or following that path of devotion, or devotion to the gods, or path of asceticism or celibacy. So that could be one of the way of understanding or decoding or unlocking the mystery of the matters of your seventh house. Because friends, like the way I have already mentioned this thing, Ketu is the only planet which can create mystery. Saturn can delays, but it can still promises the marriage. There are all other planets which can provide you the marriage in one way or another way, even if they are afflicted. But Ketu is the one planet which, if it does not promise you something, if it does not want to give you something, so no matter how much remedies you are doing, how much religious austerities you are undertaking, there is some sort of past life connection or reason attached over there which needs to be decoded and understood to its core. So these are the few things, friends, which I wanted to say over here. And lastly, when we actually talk about the month to find out the marriage, or the right time or right year, specifically attaching the importance of transit, so then you have to include that if in transit Jupiter is aspecting your fifth house, seventh house, ninth house, or the ascendant, or even the transit of Jupiter from the 11th house of wish fulfillment, can be seen as one of the very good sign that during this time when Jupiter is transiting or aspecting the important houses of your relationship, it can actually grant you the happiness on the account of marriage. So this is something, friends, which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs in this new age of matchmaking and finding love and finding solace and happiness in your matrimonial ties. For further more updates and notifications on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page. Dhanyavad.